Welcome back to Motonisto. In today's episode, I'll answer some of my viewers' question about installing a frame-mounted fairing onto onto any motorcycle, really. In this case, we have a 1981 Honda CB 900. Not a particularly pretty bike. As a matter of fact, it was very ugly the way the previous owner decided to customize it, and he turned it into me. This is not for myself, it's for a client, but I'm in the process of installing such a fairing that's bolted onto the frame and not onto the steering. So basically it does not move. It does not move with the steering. Whether it's a half a fairing from here or a 3/4 fairing from here, or in this case is a full fairing. But regardless, today we're going to talk about what's involved in installing one, and there are quite a few challenges, but quite a few things need to be met before you consider it done. First and foremost, it has to clear the full suspension travel. In this case is 6.4 inches in the Honda CB. 6.4 inches is quite a bit, so the nose of the fairing in this case is mounted quite high. That tilts the fairing backwards because the height of the fairing needs to be about the same as the engine, hopefully longer. So you'll see it's tilted slightly upwards, which is actually okay because it helps with aesthetics of the rest of the bike. So suspension travel is important. Steering clearance at full suspension bottom. So you need to be able to turn from lock to lock with suspension fully bottom, and that will be okay for the front fork. Now handlebars need to clear also because you don't want to get pinched by the fairing with a fully gloved hand. You need all sorts of clearance in there. Another point of concern is the headlight. The headlight needs to be pointed the right way. Right now I can tell it's not aimed correctly. It's aimed a little bit high, which will require some work. I'll show you around in a little bit. Another point of concern is airflow to the engine, especially to the exhaust. This motorcycle has the exhaust, all four exhausts in the front, and all of those exhaust ports need to have access to fresh, clean air. Clean air, doesn't matter, just fresh air, cooling them down, ambient temperature. Anyway, another point of consideration is that comfort. It's non-negotiable. Basically, once you set the handlebars in a place where you clear not only the fairing but also the supporting hardware, they won't necessarily be comfortable for daily stop and go traffic. There will be more set at the level. They're more comfortable at moving speeds, at freeway speeds. Another point to take in consideration is once the handlebars are that low, your foot controls need to move further back, which is okay. It unfolds. It doesn't fold your body in an uncomfortable position, so that's something you would get used to. What other points of concern? Maybe we'll walk you around the motorcycle and get an up closer look at it. But before we'll take a look underneath it, we'll walk around the motorcycle while the windscreen is still on, and then I will remove the windscreen so we can see what's underneath it, what it should, where you should be looking at. With that said, let's get to it. So, why even bother with a full fairing? Well, when they were introduced in the 1950s, their main purpose was to improve the aerodynamic factor of the assembly of motorcycle and rider. On top of it, you'd be able to achieve higher speeds, and also directional stability is vastly improved over a naked bike such as that. That one maybe 105, 110 miles an hour, and you'd be very uncomfortable on it. This one, on the other hand, will be able to travel much faster if we play with the gearing at the rear sprocket. But why even bother? I mean, look at it, it's so beautiful that at this point I don't even care about the performance increase. Basically, I got this fairing because it's so pretty. It turned this UJM, Universal Japanese Motorcycle, into a heirloom, into a collectible, unique, beautiful motorcycle. It's not your typical Honda CB 900. It does not even freshly resemble one at all. It's so far from its original ugly, boring design that it's so much cooler. And this let's look at it again from the back. You see the you see how clear is the engine. So beautifully. It looks like it was almost made for it, but it was not. And in a future episode, we'll talk about the manufacturer of this fairing, and we'll give it an honest review after we're done installing it. Right now it's a little bit dusty, a little bit dirty, because I have just finished grinding, clearing some of the fiberglass that was in my way. And there's half the fairing bike. You notice the fairing stops right over there. It's mounted onto the frame. It is also stationary to the frame, does not rotate with the steering. But that one was a little bit easier to install because, well, not as many obstacles in the way. This one, I'm not quite done yet. Only midway through the process of installing it. And now I'm gonna take the screen off, remove the screen, and we'll take a look underneath at some of the points of interest that should be addressed. And I'll remove it. It's not bolted down yet because, well, during the fabrication, it needs to come on and off and on and off quite a few times. You get so tired of it, but anyway, you will see the distance between the fender and the bottom of the fairing needs to clear full bottom, and then plus some. And now also at full steering, it needs to clear at full steering lock from lock to lock. You'll notice that clearance was cut out on both sides, not only to clear the suspension components, but also, let's see if we can get a better look. There it is. This is the cylinder number 1 exhaust, and it needs to see fresh air right at it, not around the fairing, but straight at it. And that needs to be carefully looked at. You don't want to cut too much, though. You definitely don't want to cut too much. This fairing costs my customer close to $1,000. It's not very cheap, and that's why you'll notice I cut little by little, slivers basically, until I achieved until I achieved the what I wanted to see on one side, and then the other side was cut a lot more to match the other side. So that equals all of those. The bottom of the fairing I was not able to fit it onto the bike at all, so I cut it away. Basically, when you buy a fiberglass fairing, expect to fit it to your bike, and you will have to cut away quite a bit of it to fit it. So you get a block of fiberglass, and then you chip away at it. You chisel away at it until you get the perfect combination of everything you're looking at. Let's see. You need to clear the handlebars with a fully gloved hand on, and from side to side, and you'll notice the clutch perch on the other side. It is so close to the main fairing stay. I have not finished making all the fairings, and obviously this one is not even installed yet. We'll probably drill a hole in there and install the fairing on both sides with the rubber grommets, well, nuts rather. And I will probably need another supporting somewhere around here. I'm looking at probably that bolt over there, and bolted directly onto the frame. Also, while I'm here, let's take a look at see the exhaust clearance. I might actually need to put some heat reflective tape on the inside. Even though fiberglass is highly resistant to heat, that is still a bit close for comfort. I don't know. But this is an oil cooler. Airflow needs to go to it. And as we see, yeah, we have a good airflow to it. So that's a good thing. These excess tubes from the handlebars will eventually be cut off, but you do need to pay attention how close your brake master cylinder, or everything that turns, everything that moves. You need to consider it. What would happen if, for example, the tachometer is not installed yet? It's just hanging there by its own drive cable. It is a cable-driven one, so it cannot be installed on the triple trees because, well, the bridge, the main fairing stay, gets in the way of the cable itself. So it would hit that that bridge over there if I installed it on a triple tree. So that's a no-go. Let's get it out of the way and talk about the headlight for a second. You see, that's the original Honda headlight. I cut the backside of it, and I'm going to finish it a little prettier, and eventually I'll paint it the same color as the fairing. But I cut the backside of it off in order to access the light bulb. Eventually, this sealed beam will be replaced with a reflector, with a plug-in H4 light bulb, universal automotive H4 light bulb that can be installed from the back. If this bucket was not cut open, if the light bulb went out, you would basically need to remove the fairing and then the headlight trim ring, and then these bolts and so forth. It would be a major hassle. That's another thing you want to keep in mind, is ease of fairing installation and removal, because eventually you'll need to do some maintenance work on the engine, valve clearances, cam changes, whatnot. You need to be able to remove it. One person, it shouldn't be a two-person job to remove the fairing and set it aside while you do maintenance work. Now see the headlight in this position right here. It is not quite horizontal, vertical in this, so I know I'm aimed a little bit high in order to bring it down a little bit. I already have a gap down here at the bottom, you see that's a gap, and I'd rather have the chrome trim ring stick out of the fairing on the bottom, but that will also make the top stick out further from the top also, which means there's a, let's see if I can get this, there's also an obstacle on the headlight itself. Let me see if I can get to, there is that little obstacle on the headlight itself, so that means more has to be ground away from the headlight opening. Quite a bit of work left to do still on this, but the main fairing stay so far is, let's see if I can get a better look at it. This was a square tubing welded directly onto a muffler clamp, heavy duty muffler clamp. You'll probably see better from this side. You see it. So the main fairing is staying on that tube where I started making it before I got the fairing. So originally this was a straight tube going forward, but it was too the straight tube was too low. It was too low to clear my my suspension travel, so I had to raise it up. Unfortunately, it looks kind of awkward, but realistically you won't really see it when it's all said and done. But there's quite a few other brackets to be made. You want to retain it. You want to retain it very strongly in the front and very strongly somewhere in the middle, and then a little more looser towards maybe that flapping, that corner might be flapping in the wind. Also these top wings might flap, although not in this case, because when I bought the fairing I kept in mind that this is not a simple shape, but it rather folds onto itself, so it gives it quite a bit more structural integrity than just a flat piece of fiberglass. So I don't think I will need any support for this wings. They usually go to the front, to the behind the steering, or maybe even in the steering if you want to, and then allow the steering to rotate while the fairing stays stationary. But it's quite a bit to cover, and I'm sure I forgot quite a bit of it. If you already bought a fairing, or if you're looking to buy one, I hope I didn't discourage you from from the job you're looking at. But if you do have a problem with it, well, I live in Michigan, Metro Detroit area, and if you live near me, I'm willing to help you out with it. Maybe, I don't know, discuss it. But if you have any more questions, come back in the next future episode. We'll have the fairing completely bolted up, hopefully. And then a few more jobs to do on this bike before I disassemble and get ready for paint. But with that, I think I gave you a pretty good tutorial. Good luck with your project, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.